Welcome friends, welcome everyone, all the many new subscribers. Thank you for being here. So today I will do something totally different. I will give a reading to the new world, which is the United States in its most positive conception, as it was literally dreamt into reality by the forefathers of the 13 states. On July the 4th, 1776, the Declaration of Freedom. And this is the chart Rudyhar, Dane Rudyhar, the famous astrologer, and probably the most prominent and powerful and really mind-expanding astrologer of the 20th century. I think everybody would agree with me on that. He came up with this particular time. And just in the context of what happened last week, and I mean, I told you it would be magnanimous, it would be a big week. We are getting into the eye of the cyclone, that was my wording, and I guess you have really enjoyed that one. There were so many views. I guess it's the best performing video I have made so far, so thank you for paying attention. This is powerful stuff. Astrology works, and it works down to the minute, to the second of the arc. That's what I'm showing you in my next video. Actually, I will give you the foundation for what I'm talking about here, showing you how this particular chart you're having in front of your eyes is absolutely solid, working, reflecting that new idea, how it has grown over 248 years, I guess it's now already, just coming out of its infancy, really. I mean, that's how we have to look at grand cultures. Look at the Chinese or the Indian culture. They are thousands of years old, and naturally after 250 years even, yes, I guess this is still growing out of the childhood phase. And truly, I mean, that time around when this idea was born and dreamt into reality is that really powerful time 250 years ago, one Pluto cycle. You see, at the time Pluto was in the last degrees of Capricorn, which is totally matching where we are now, so it is really coming full circle, if you want, in a greater evolutionary sense in terms of society developing. The Pluto cycle could be kind of compared to the lunar cycle on the personal level, or on to the Saturn cycle of 29 years, also on a more micro level, societal evolutionary level. Anyway, but the big is the 250-year cycle with Pluto being back where it was. Now this is big, and many astrologers have been writing and saying about that. I won't go too deep into this, just pointing it out. But what I want to do today, I will look into the activation of this chart, the year of the wood dragon. I love Chinese astrology. It's so down to earth. I think the start of the Chinese years, which is always the new moon in Aquarius, which naturally every year is a little different, that is the day which sets the tone, period. So this is the chart for Washington, and I guess it is not surprising. Uranus right here up center, and the 25th, 26th degree of Aquarius here in the horizon. Just look at where the moon is in the American chart, 27. So it is right here at this cusp, and with the ascendant actually on Hygeia, health, well-being, serendipity. That is the main focus, and the midheaven here, 1940 for Washington, you see, is right here on Vesta, no less than Vesta, which is serving a higher reality, a higher deity, something more expansive than we are. That is the goddesses in the Roman temple who make sure the flame never goes out. They're the servants of the divine. I guess that's the best way to call Vesta. You see, it's the flame, the symbol of the flame, one of the 4 major asteroids. All feminine goddess energy, as all of them have. And again, I'm repeating myself. The asteroids play a most crucial role as they give us roles to play. It's kind of bringing the inner planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus and Mars, which are really pretty much what our personality is expressing as our personality, our small world, bringing it into context with the greater cosmos, with the social and kind of societal dimensions of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune and beyond. So the link is in the asteroids. They are playing the roles, we are giving those roles, and then we can build that bond to the greater good, and in that sense expand our perception, awareness of what is truly happening around us. So this is exactly what's happening this year in the United States. In a simple way said, it is, we are playing the role of bringing everything back to health and balance, well-being, and the intention, the power which is fueling us as a global nation is Vesta. Highest intentions. And Uranus here, I mean, really, this is setting fire under Vesta even more so. So this is a real passion for some great advanced evolutionary. So this is where we are coming from. And yes, I'm saying, yeah, I live in Canada, as you certainly know. I'm including myself into this chart, as everyone does around the world. We have been rooting for the United States since 2016 practically. That's at least where I really was set on flame, because I saw clearly that was where evolution was going. The Americas would be the first big breakthrough in terms of liberation from the yoke of control and you name it. And the breakthrough has to happen from grassroots up, and that was first getting obvious, actually not just in the States, but they're most obvious also in Britain with Brexit, and naturally the person who is in the main focus right now being declared president. For some reason they didn't manage to rig that one, and I guess it was just such a surprise they didn't expect it coming. Anyway, that were the kind of the wild cards which were thrown in 2016, which really those of us who kind of were reading the signs. So this was the real big breakthrough, and since then things have been accelerating, yes, with some setbacks, which in the bigger picture are of great value too. So now let's zoom in. I give you a little bit of a timeline of what's going on in the next few months into December. How about that? And I'm working with the secondary progressed chart of this one, which is, let me just go back to present day. Actually, let's go back here to the 13th of July 24. That was that day when the world really shifted, when the paradigms were redefined. And but let's go back a little further. And the other chart I have here for you is okay, where do I have it? It's this one. Okay, right. Here it is. It's a little small, but I would like to leave the big one on the main frame here. So you see the interaction of the two charts. So on March 24th, just shy after spring equinox, there was a progressed new moon in this chart of the new world, which really encompasses that idea of creating a new reality, because this is really much greater than the borders of one country. This was a universal idea which was getting into its test run, really. That's how we have to see it, and since has been improving naturally with many setbacks, but these are part of the game too, of smartening up. It's all one package. That's how an astrological chart has to be seen in general, also on a personal level. Every mistake and every kind of you would say side of yours you do not like so much, or you have gone through difficult times, these are the grains of salt in the mix, which eventually will become the jumping board into understanding something much greater. So everything serves something more higher. It's kind of the devil is God's best helper along that line. Okay, enough said, but what I want to point out is in the natal chart, the black moon, which is the shadow, is at 1928 in Virgo. Look where that progress new moon was, 1926, just in perfect resonance with the core shadow. And I want to stay for a minute with this, because I mean, yes, I know other astrologers use different times of day for that same moment. However, all of those will go through a progress new moon. If you take the base time of a few hours different, that means it relates to a few months earlier or later for that exact match of the new moon to manifest as one day after birth counts for 1 year in the real life. That's kind of the fractal principle the progressions work on. So just to come back to this chart quickly to start, why do we have a new moon in Pisces? You have to think of it that way. Go 248 days ahead in the year's movement, the sun's movement, and you get to the 19th, 20th degree of Pisces. So that's the 248 years in the fractal of 248 days. So yeah, I'm teaching you a little astrology too, so sorry astrologers, sometimes I'm going a little bit too much into that, but my intention is really to teach, and I will eventually offer classes. I have said it many times to many people, it's coming. Just hang in there and just listen, I will tell you. Anyway, this is big. So the next 30-year cycle for this country, for this idea, will be the facing the shadow and rising through the shadow. And that is exactly what it is. I mean, at the core of the shadow, when we really focus on it, that's where the solution is found, where the light is found. It is by having to look at it that the resolution, the solution will come, manifest itself. It's kind of, if you truly are having a deep question, the answer is encapsulated. It will be given. Ask and it will be given. It's along that line. So anyway, I want to tell you about the I Ching symbols of these two opposing points, because this is exactly showing what we are experiencing these days. So okay, well, I roll back my for a few minutes. I want to just get you into this first. The Mayan calendar, always a wonderful and easy way to navigate time. So today, as I'm recording this, we are on this day, the power of vision. I guess it's pretty matching to have a bit of a vision into the greater dynamics of time. Yesterday was the wisdom of the shaman, the one Ish. Ish is the wizard, the shaman, the jaguar, and yeah, there were big movements yesterday, and it was full moon. Huh? So anyway, as being a full moon, so this energy is really at the base of what we are experiencing right now, the wisdom of the shaman. And the day prior, which was my memory sometimes is short, but that's where Mars entered Gemini, and more on that coming. I have a marvelous video there lined up for you, which I just have to record still. Mars and the green comet of 2023. They are one amalgamated unit, and they work together in sync. More on that coming. Just roll it back a little farther. On the 13th of July, we were on this day, bridge between the worlds. It's actually a really peaceful and deep day, the Kimi. It is embracing the life in its totality. It's also connected to death, interestingly enough. Death naturally can be very literal, but it also can be understanding that everything is cyclical, that nothing really ends. We're just entering a whole new phase. So in that sense, it's also a day of forgiveness, very, very big, and then a day of connecting with our ancestors, giving thanks and all of that. So that was a very powerful day as such. As we all know, things were really shifted into new gear on that day. It was a paradigm shift. And yeah, let me quickly play you this. I mean, you probably have seen that. Sorry for jumping around like a rabbit, but I just have to follow my intuition here. This is the one I want to show you first, and this blew my mind. This wasn't the aftermath of the 13th of July event. Listen to what this man has to say. Okay, it's loading.
Done some stuff personally in the past. I'm not planning on doing that this time. And that includes, not endorsing either of the candidates. Now, look, I mean, there's obviously a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. I mean, the historic events over the weekend. And, I mean, on a personal note, it's seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life. But look, I mean, it's and I think, look, at some level as an American, it's like hard to not get kind of emotional about that spirit and that fight. And I think that's why a lot of people like the guy.
Well, I guess that says it
I've
all.
done some stuff personally in the past. I'm not planning on doing that this time.
Thank you, Mark. Let me turn you off now. And then, I mean, yesterday, all of you know that by now, the world just changed. Got a totally new outlook. As Mr. Biden drops out of the 24 presidential election. So anyway, we are really at the cusp of some really amazing shifts. Yes, I have to go back to the Mayan calendar once more. It is, you see, it all began on July the 8th, when we entered a whole new 260-day cycle. Anyway, keep following it. It will reads vertically. The link to daily follow it is under the video in the description. Yes, if you do a little homework, this is a powerful, powerful system. And then the red ones, just shortly saying this, are portal days. They have a special additional power link to galactic frequencies. Okay, now let's go to the hexagrams, which I was promising you. So the sun in the progressed new moon is in hexagram 22, grace. So, well, let's start on the other end, because this explains it better. This is where the black moon is in the American chart, in the New World chart, I want to say. And it is a difficult hexagram to start with, exhaustion, and that black moon is encapsulated in the 9th house. After all, it is really the enigma, the one which, when cracked, is solving everything, because it's kind of in the vault, hidden away. And in this difficult conjunction with Neptune, so it's all about deception and great ideas, but kind of twisted, not really in sync with reality, not well grounded for sure, up in the 9th house. And then, yes, opposed here by the 3rd house, which is all about communication and understanding and intellectual kind of, not just that intellectual, it's kind of much bigger than that. It is perception as such is the 3rd house. So perception is kind of very Neptunian in that sense, not really very easy to grasp. It is formless. Everything is kind of you get it, Neptunian. And then Sedna opposing. Sedna is a powerful and beautiful energy. It has deep wisdom, but it is also an abyss, and it pulls you down into the deep. And naturally, this is kind of in the grand square with the major horizontal axis, which is all about the interaction, meeting the world. My girl is here wanting to have my attention. Yes, you have to lie down. Daddy is busy. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Yes, I really want to read you. This is the 3rd line, which changes when a planet is in, which gets activated. A man permits himself to be oppressed by stones and leans on thorns and thistles. He enters the house and does not see his wife. Misfortune. This shows a man, and just focusing in on this is the shadow energy we are dealing with. What we are now really zooming in on and resolving. That's what this new moon triggered. And this is naturally a process. This doesn't happen in a day. This is a process. And we have just started on it. This shows a man who is restless and indecisive in times of adversity. At first he wants to push ahead, then he encounters obstructions that, it is true, mean oppression, when only recklessly dealt with. He butts his head against the wall and in consequence feels himself oppressed by the wall. So it is kind of that situation that whole society has been walled in by forces beyond our control, and as it is the 3rd line, it changes into 28, which is preponderance of the great. This line would benefit from a more mature and considered approach to his difficulties. I guess that's just about where we are arriving as a global village, really. This is really much bigger, and don't take it personal when I'm saying all these things. It's really much, much bigger. It's just that's where it's centered around. If one is making mountains out of molehills and not paying proper attention to the real nature of things and events, how can one expect a good outcome from these actions? And Lecce, that is one of the translators of the I Ching, he says, Graphically, is there set forth the distress which reckless action brings? And again, sorry, don't take it personal. It is, if you study the history of the United States, I guess you know, I mean, it's been really along that line, and that shows in many, many other ways too in the American chart. Now, just for example, here in this Mars-Uranus here at the 7th house cusp, which kind of, in my opinion, is showing that kind of policing the world, particularly as it's in a very yang position here, pretty much together with Venus and the Sun and Jupiter. They're all here at the very farthest side on the right of the chart, which is the where we really reach out and do things actively, versus left where we receive. Anyway, just illustrating this a little bit, so you understand really also the significance of this chart as such, with the Sag rising. So now the new moon on the other end of the spectrum, let me read you that line too. That is hexagram 22, grace. So grace is definitely there, and we this is again has been building up. This hexagram starts around 17 degrees, so it has been going on for already since roughly the end of 2022. We entered into grace in that sense on the progressed chart. Are you so restless? Okay, Daddy will let you up. Just give me a second. She wants to go upstairs. Yes, Daddy will come. Okay, here I am again. So the third line of hexagram 22, that is where this present focus is really wanting us to zoom in on. Also in the third line, graceful and moist. Constant perseverance brings good fortune. This represents a very charming life situation. Well, I mean, this is negotiable. One is under the spell of grace and the mellow mood induced by wine. Okay, I guess that's kind of where it starts. It's kind of a, yeah, just hanging in there, kind of the couch potato situation, which probably many people still are in. This grace can adorn, but it can also swamp us. Hence the warning not to sink into convivial indolence, but to remain in constant perseverance. And as it changes into hexagram 27, the corners of the mouth providing nourishment, more luck can buy nice clothes, fine dinner parties and great artworks. But such a situation, depending as it does on external forces, can quickly degenerate. Well, I guess you get the picture. So for some reason, reality has now zoomed us in to face that in its extremest forms. That's how it is. I mean, that's how we also personally experience it in life. We have to get to that place of absolute disaster before we change and shift, and that's where we are right now, and I'm showing you how and why. So let's roll back a little bit. So on March 24th, short after spring equinox, this whole new phase starts into 30 years of history. And then the moon moves away from the sun and enters hexagram 36, which is darkening of the light. I'm showing you how this goes. Darkening of the light, that is on June the 9th. No, we are way too fast. I have to go back here. That's where we are. June the 9th. Darkening of the light. So this is when the real dark phase started, I should say, of confusion, and this is really when everything is very dismal. So it's important to understand that that started on June the 9th. This only lasts for a few weeks. Don't be too concerned. Actually, on July the 13th, the moon then is at 1944, and then exactly on top of Nessus and Saturn, by the way. Let's just go there quickly. I want to show you this. It just shows the immense perfection again. And so, where do I have that? That I have here. Okay, you see this is the year of the wood dragon. Okay, it's not that chart I wanted to show you. This, let's choose this one. This is the one from the attempt with Saturn 1915 and Nessus 1948 in Pisces. And I mean, this is a very slow moving group, those who move backwards now, and the progressed sun moves forward slowly. Okay, I'm having issues talking and navigating now. Okay, computer is slow here. Okay, here we are, the animated chart. That's the one I want. So naturally, that's what I want to tell you, is that the next few weeks will be pretty more and more confused. I guess that's really where we're heading to. And on August the 27th, it is here in my notes, let's just go there. Around the end of August, the moon is in a perfect opposition, the progress moon, perfect opposition to Neptune. Yes, it's the 27th. Let's just show you how fast the moon here really moves by progression. I mean, relatively 1 degree per month. So it is 55 here, 25, 55, 25, 54. So that is August the 27th. That is around the time when you can expect things to be most confused. So it really gives you a kind of a, you can relax into it. You know, it's a process. That's what astrology really allows to see. Right, there was one other I wanted and I should, and because it's so telling. So on that day, that fateful day where the universe said, no, it's not time yet, OR10, gong gong, here at the head of the chart. Gong gong, the water dragon, which rams its head into a mountain because he is fed up with the situation. So this can be an extreme energy of, I would say, disappointment of not seeing what really is happening. However, if this energy is understood and tamed and not being allowed to lose its head literally, then this can be a great fuel for change too, naturally with Uranus here. But let me continue here. August 27th, Neptune opposition, then yeah, it's really, I have here made this note too, it's kind of like the nation is pushed through the eye of the needle, or you could even say through the meat grinder, sorry, but it is a tough time, and slowly things become more clear. October the 22nd actually is when the moon changes hexagrams again, and this time into innocence, which is the first rays of spring, you could say. See, we're going here, October 22nd, 23rd, first, the moon crossing 28:15 Pisces. This is the time when clarity is starting to set in where things should go. Really good to know that is still 3 weeks before that final kind of date. So it might be a really interesting twist which is opening its gates around that time, that all of a sudden things get more clear. So don't expect any fast and big changes. It's gradually, organically changing. That's how I like to call it. It's like everything changes, and actually pretty fast. If you watch the sky, there's clouds, for example, if there's places where you still can't see clouds, despite of what they're putting into the air. But if you watch the clouds and look away for 2 minutes and watch again, it will be very different. However, if you keep watching, then it's kind of very slow shifting, or a tree growing even more so. You get the picture, but the organic shift is which helps many people to still come along and slowly get it, it starts at one little point and then it spreads naturally till you truly understand what is going on in this dimension. And we have to be patient, we have to be very understanding of one another, because we all have been misguided in many ways, and it is coming to know what's truly going on is difficult. It's plain out difficult, and I guess the more we can really feel that for everyone around us, from where they come, what their worldview is, how they have been conditioned, because that's how it is. We come with an empty mind. The mind is programmed. It's literally like you buy a new computer and you load certain programs onto it, and then you have the Islamic program or the Christian program or the whatever you call it, the American program, the Indian program, or the whatever. It's all programs. It's all just levels of conditioning which allow us to interact with one another, because we all function on the same program. And then, then what happened yesterday too, or I guess 2 days ago, I forget, half of the world was without internet for hours because of a system failure. Makes you really think. As I mentioned before, just pull the plug. That's as simple as it is with all the artificial. So nature will win, there is no question. It is just allowed to go that direction, to expand our understanding, because we have to go to one extreme to understand and fully honor the other extreme. That's literally where it is. We have to allow for the whole panorama, and as soon as we understand that there's a relaxation, then you can allow for the process, and that's what I'm helping you here with too. So anyway, October the 22nd, and then I mean, the game is not over yet, because you see there's this other level, and let me go back to this chart here quickly. So actually Saturn turned retrograde at 19 degrees 25 in Pisces on June the 29th. So this is 1 minute shy of this new moon, which was formed according to my timeline March the 24th this year, being the beginning of the next big cycle. So in other words, Saturn is the one which helps to see the shadow. Saturn has been always good at that. Saturn was there when Neptune was discovered, nailed the guy down, arrested him, brought him into visibility, pulled up its cloak, its invisibility cloak. It's, yeah, you get the picture. So that's what Saturn helps. Yes, Saturn is there also kind of a reminder of a reality check. It's a sobering up, touch ground, stop being in that Pisces energy, swamped around and pushed around and no orientation. So Saturn gives orientation. Saturn gives structure. Saturn is actually a big teacher. We have just to honor that the ability to be able to learn. As soon as we have that, then we stop fighting with it. So Saturn is often painted as a difficult planet. Yes, because it calls us to reason. It calls us to face reality in its complexion, and its very tangible, manifest form. So anyway, Saturn turned retrograde on June 29th, just a few weeks ago, going back to 12 degrees 41 on November the 9th, November the 16th, sorry, turning direct here just shy above the 7th house cusp. And then this is when things will slowly even get better, more in that sense, manifesting themselves in a way forward. The solutions start coming into sight. Up to then, the retrograde is still just literally, that's what retrograde planets do. They are sitting there on the sideline and watch, and it's a review which happens. You go inside and say how did we get to where we are? What is really the driving forces? It is all that integration which is happening during the retro phases. And naturally, in that sense, as Saturn is a collective planet, a social planet, it's the individual coming to terms which has happened in the outer world, at least since the last time it moved direct. So coming to terms with all the damage which was done, and I just read the statistics. I guess over 61 million people in the US are regretting their medical intervention. So it's really getting there. It's snowballing. It's a very, very fast motion we are on, despite it being experienced as slow motion. Again, that's what I said before. Things change very dramatically. If you just look back where we were 4 years ago, we really have to give ourselves credits and say we have come long ways. Much has been, or even if you go further back to 2016 or 2012 or you name it, any time in history, but it has been speeding up. There's my understanding is it's a hyperbolic curve we're on, and we really just moved into this section of even a more accelerated evolution. That's what we see in the last week alone. I mean, it's unbelievable. Really into the eye of the cyclone, as I keep saying, we are now. And this eye is not small. I guess it lasts for a few months, so be ready for. But as the closer you get really to the eye, the more quiet and centered everything becomes, and you start understanding. Because if you're right at the center of the circle, then you are at the perfect equilibrium of everything, and that's where we are getting, that's where the solution will then also arise from. So then on December the 4th, the progressed moon enters, enters Aries. Okay, December the 4th. Let's go exact. So you see, let's go to days here once more. Okay. Yeah, here you have it. 001 on December the 4th. So this will be even more so a plain open field opening itself up. A real invitation into creativity and to new creation, new ideas. And it makes sense that we would see a new energy coming in also politically with all these signs. I guess it's pretty much everything points in that direction. Just think of Mark Zuckerberg and what he just said. It's pretty amazing on that line, even though, to be honest, I'm meanwhile holding the opinion that we do not need any governments really. This is really on its way out, this whole structure of being governed from above. We are sovereign beings. We can organize ourselves locally and help and support each other, and then we can get rid of all these artificial structures which just cost lots of money, which do harm on every level. Yes, we have to come back to the village and to small groups standing and helping each other. Naturally, there can be a kind of an organizational oversight of you put people in charge to make sure the post office works nationwide or things like that. But this is truly just service, and there's no idea even has to come in that somebody who organizes the postal service for the nation should be powerful in any way to make decisions for the whole people. Anyway, you get where I'm going with this. However, as this is a time of transition, yes, what is to show itself more and more clearly by the day is what we need and will be the final steps into that time when we are truly not needing any of that governmental structures anymore. We can get rid of them altogether. So this is a path. This won't happen very fast, probably takes another few years to kind of tether out. So December the 4th and actually December the 7th, that's the other day I just came up with yesterday looking at charts as a big turning point. So it's in that early week of December. That is when Mars will turn retrograde, and also the comet again in interesting synchronicity. That green comet, which Magenta Pixie and the 9 have labeled the green. Let me read you the exact quote here. Where do I have it here? The green star-seeded comet of deliverance codes for humanity. That one came in from a 50,000-year orbit. Yes, it was not big a spectacle in that sense visually, you have to be in the right place and you have to have some magnification, but still it brought in an energy from 50,000 years ago, from the time when the continent of Mu was the main culture on this planet. That is at least the esoteric sources which are telling us that is predating Atlantis by 26,000 years. So this is a 50,000 year orbit that comet came in on, really linked us to that time, triggered all these hidden memories, because we all have been there too, in some form or other. Nothing ever dies, everything is constantly here, it just changes forms. So we can really make the link and remember, and that is where these deliverance codes are coming in. And it's just step by step they get activated. Actually, on that note, this is also, I mean, it's always too many things to put in one video, but on July the 12th, guess what? That's the day the comet changed direction as seen from our perspective. It turned retrograde again. Now the comet is coming in a very steep path into the solar system. If you think of most of the planets kind of within more or less the same plane, the sun in the center, the different planets. So the comet came in from a very high inclination against the ecliptic, which in itself is also very special. Actually, the angle was bigger than 90 degrees, so it appears to move backwards through the zodiac, really. So whenever it turns backwards again, that is its original motion. And also there's a thing with the backward motion. The only thing in our regular astrology chart which always moves backward is the lunar nodes. The lunar nodes are the evolutionary directions and they move backwards. How about that? It is the integration which happens that way. That is the wonderful thing about the backward motion. Again, what I said about the retrograde planets too. It's during going backwards when integration happens. So anyway, this comet is about that integration, and as the comet is now moving in its original direction since July the 12th into December the 7th, this is a phase of true recognition, and then we can get back into the turmoil when Mars turns retrograde on December the 7th. Will be a super interesting end of this year, definitely, that Mars retrograde, which usually goes on for about 11 weeks or so. But let me just stay on track here. I want to give you a little more dates here to ponder. So we had December the 4th, which is the moon entering a whole new era, you could say. Really the stage opening to new adventures. Real pioneering spirit comes into the world by then. And then on February the 18th, that is when Saturn finally will be back here on this degree where the new moon was in March 2024. And by then, let's just go there, that is 18th of February 25. So by that time the progress sun is at 20 degrees and 20 minutes in Pisces, and here that is the ephemeris for Saturn. You see that is on February the 25th, 26th. That is when Saturn is catching up to the progressed sun, meaning now it's kind of easy to follow. Up to that point, we had to go ahead of Saturn in a sense of evolution. And as Saturn now then passes over the sun and naturally a few months later over the moon, kind of traveling in tandem with the moon, which is interesting in itself, which is, there's a clear structure showing itself. We just have to allow it to fall in place and to come together. It's kind of, you get the plan and everything else is then just a matter of execution. Execution is step by step, as the plan, as the guide is telling. Now overall, there's another aspect to this chart which is super important. If we look at the hexagrams overlaying here the rising signs, so there's a critical change at 11/22/30, and that happened, let me just go there, I have written it down, that was okay, I have not written it down, let's just go there quickly. Steps in months back, so okay, that was, let's go exact 22, that was early May. Early May, the ascendant descendant axis moved into a new pair of hexagrams, coming from hexagram 40 at the ascendant, which is deliverance, which is that thirst for freedom and for liberation, breaking through hindrances, and so, and 37 on the other side, which is family. This now is moving in a whole new direction. This is 64. This is confusion, pure confusion, the chaos out of which everything is born and forming itself. And 63, which is after completion, before completion and after completion. After completion meaning there's a, on the receiving end, there's a serenity and a peace and an understanding. Interesting that in the human design, and I'm just showing you here this quickly as I have it on the screen too, the hexagrams 64 and 63 are here linking the sixth chakra with the crown, allowing for the two different ways of perceiving the overall reality. It's either the logical or the intuitive. 64 is the intuitive and 63 is the logical, just to give you this little hint. So it is literally now coming down to the level of wrapping our minds around things, understanding that confusion is there and there is structure at the same time, that actually the allowing for the confusion, allowing for dissolution of everything is giving the freedom for a whole new natural synthesis of things coming together in natural form, guided by sacred geometry, you could say. Anyway, I really wanted to give you this little oversight, to give you a perspective of what's coming, where we are going, to understand that yes, confusion is big at the time and it will grow all the way probably into late August, being at its peak, and then changing into a much clearer perspective around October the 22nd. I love you all, and enjoy it. It's a once in a lifetime experience we are having. This will be told generations to come as the big breakthroughs in history from old to new. Again, please subscribe, share if you feel like, and give it a like. And also, if you like to support my work, you will find the information underneath. Love you all. Have a wonderful rest of the day and the week and the month.